Now, if Moen wasn't so good about standing behind their products, I probably would have considered this option. Today I'm going to walk you through a real simple project. This spout is no good, and the reason it's not good is this diverter is not working properly. When you pull this, the water is supposed to come out of the shower head, and this is worn out. Half the water comes out here and half out of the shower head, which means you have very little pressure and little water coming out of there. So I built this house years ago and installed Moen throughout my house, and a lot of the plumbing manufacturers guarantee their fixtures for life for the purchaser. So I contacted Moen, and they no longer carry this one, but they sent something that's similar. So hopefully that'll work out. Now, the first thing you need to do in changing out your spout is identify what type you have. There's basically three different types. One is a slip-on, which is what this is, and the way you identify that is there'll be a set screw underneath here. If you've got a set screw, you need to loosen that and it'll slide off. You might have to move it back and forth a little bit. The other type is a screw-on. If you don't have a set screw on yours, if it's smooth underneath here, then it's got a threaded nipple on the end of the copper pipe, the water line. And that threaded nipple is either going to be out here or it's going to be back here. It'll be out about 4 inches. If it's back here, it'll stick out about 3/4 of an inch. So you need to remove that, identify what you have, and then you can go ahead and get your spout and replace it. Now, this is a real simple project. The first thing you want to do is stop your drain, just in case you lose any screws or anything. If it falls down there, it doesn't go down your drain. I've got an Allen set screw in here, and just going to feel for it under here. There we go. Now I'm locked in there, and lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, so I'm going to turn it this way. And that set screw just pinches onto the copper pipe. You only need to put it tight enough so that it's not slipping when you tighten it down. Now I'm loosening it, so I'm just going to make sure I've got it plenty loose so I'm not going to damage the copper pipe at all. I still feel a little restriction there, so I'm going to loosen this more. Now I can flip it up and have easier access to loosen this set screw. That should be plenty loose. And that rubber O-ring might be sticking a little bit out there, so you just want to be patient, work it back and forth a little bit, and work its way off. You don't want to yank on this real hard. I'm just working it back and forth. There we go. That rubber gasket's right there. You can see it's a little corroded on here, and this pipe's a little gouged here. But that's where that rubber O-ring sits. So take this plate off also. And before I do that, I'm going to clean that up. Now you can use 180 grit sandpaper, or if you have some plumber's sanding tape, you can use that. I'm just going to wipe this off because it's wet. And then you can just take this tape or your sandpaper work it back and forth. There's a lot of hard water deposits on there built up. I got a little 150 grit sandpaper, which is a little strong, but I've got quite a bit of buildup on there, so I want to get that off. But you don't want to damage this pipe at all, because that slip-on O-ring is what seals the water. When you've got the diverter shut off, it keeps the water from shooting back in here. It's not perfectly clean looking, but it feels smooth. Now this rubber O-ring comes pre-greased with plumber's grease, and it's good to put waterproof plumber's grease on here also, and just coat that so it's a nice, slides on nice and easy. Now before I slide it on, a lot of people will caulk this hole so no water can penetrate that, which is a good idea. But I've been in this house for over 20 years and never had a problem. But I would recommend caulking this, closing up that hole. It doesn't need to stay open. I'm going to loosen this set screw just a little bit. And this set screw is a little different. It just doesn't dig a hole. The screw doesn't just go in, but there's a clamp in there that clamps down on the pipe, which is nice. It doesn't damage the pipe as much. So you want to make sure that's wide open. There we go. And slide that into place. Nice tight fit. You want to make sure you get it straight. And then just snug this back down. And you just want to put this tight enough so it doesn't move. People aren't yanking on that. So you don't have to go crazy tightening this down. That's good right there. And I also have never had a problem. I'm not going to caulk and seal this, but most people do. And you put a bead of caulk around from there to there and leave the bottom open. So if you do get a leak, you'll see it dripping out from underneath here. So mine's wide open. If it's leaking, it's going to come down here, and I'll also find it in my unfinished basement. So I'm not concerned about that. Now, if Moen wasn't so good about standing behind their products, I probably would have considered this option. And you can remove that diverter. You just take a screwdriver or something where you can pry these two fingers apart just a little bit and pull back on the handle while you're spreading those out. And that lever will pull out. You can see there's a little lip on it that locks it in place. And the diverter will come right out. Now this diverter has this rubber gasket in here. It's smooth on the top and concave on the bottom. So you want to install the concave facing down into the plastic diverter. And this sits in there like this, the short side on top. And there's a channel in there. You put it on the inside of the channel like that. Let it slide down in there. You just hold that in place with your finger. Push this in place. That locks in, and you're set to go. So you can change that out. Now if you wanted to go this route, you can get this rubber gasket at the hardware store for about $2.50. Or you can get a kit with these 3 parts together for about $8 online or at the hardware store. and you can repair your spout yourself. I'm just going to clean this off, the chrome, from my greasy hands. And the big final test. Beautiful. Not a drop dripping out of the spout, and the shower head is strong. If this video was a help to you, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And I look forward to helping you with other projects online.